Hi again, everyone. So it is part 2 of my classroom setup series. My name is Kieran. If you saw the video from the day 1 that I did, you probably know I was very overwhelmed and just like stressed out pretty much. This always happens to me at the beginning of the school year when I'm setting up my room. And so I'm back today. I'm going to do a little more work. I came up with a plan. I think I shared yesterday that I wanted to come up with a plan before I kept working in here because I was just so overwhelmed yesterday. So I think I'm going to start by actually working on this cabinet right here. I keep all of like my craft supplies and like educational games and stuff like that in this cabinet. I bought some new games and I wanted to add them to this collection, but I need to make room in this cabinet. So I think I'm going to go through here. Like the main focus of today is probably going to be cleaning out this cabinet and getting the games into this cabinet. I also brought a couple bags to maybe take some stuff out that I don't use and that I no longer need, and then either have a garage sale or donate the items. And then I might try to also get my resource books into a shelf that I have that I keep all of my educational resource books on. So those are the goals for today. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Liking my videos really helps support my channel. It helps my channel to grow. And we are almost at 100,000 subscribers on this channel. So I would appreciate your support with a thumbs up or subscribing to this channel or both. So, all right, let me share with you what the closet looks like right now. So this is what the cabinet looks like right now. On the top, I usually keep my like crafting supplies. And then on the bottom, I have a lot of the educational games that I use. So I'm going to try to go through this and really just try to reorganize it, throw out the stuff that I do not use, and donate the stuff that I do not use, and then try to make more space for the other educational games that I have. So let's get to work. So as you might already be able to tell, this was a video that I started filming over the summer. I actually posted the first part of this video, I want to say like in August or so, but then I didn't end up sharing anything else from this series. And the reason why is because at this time I was really sick, really struggling a lot with my severe obsessive compulsive disorder. This was also when I was learning a lot about like what I was struggling with in terms of the heart condition that I have, and I was going through a lot of testing, and I was just sort of overwhelmed by a lot at the time. But the one good thing that sort of came out of this time is that this was one of the first times that I was in my classroom since I started noticing like a lot of really big improvement using the medication that I am for severe obsessive compulsive disorder. So a question that I get asked a lot is what's it like being a teacher while struggling with severe obsessive compulsive disorder, and how do I do that, and sort of like just how, I guess you could say. And so I just want to take some time today and talk with you guys about that. It's honestly like really surprising to me that I'm even talking about this with you guys, because for the longest time this would have been something that I would have been really, really nervous to share. Something that I've shared before with my journey with severe obsessive compulsive disorder is that, and anxiety as well, is that for me, like my obsessive compulsive disorder and my anxiety tend to focus on things that are really important to me. And teaching and being a teacher and working with my students and being an educator and being part of a school is extremely important to me. My school community is everything to me. My students are everything to me. And they're just so important. It's such a crucial part of my life, and just like it's my passion. It's what I was born to do. I was born to be an English as a new language teacher. So at times it's kind of complicated. I guess I'll say it's kind of like my anxiety would make me be fearful of things related to school. And mainly it would make me be fearful of losing my job. If I'm going to be honest, that would just be something that I was always very, very concerned about. Even though I work super hard and I'm, really, I'm dedicated to my students and they're so important to me, and teaching and being a part of a team is so important to me. That was something that I was really struggling with. It's just being afraid of, like, what if I lost it, and that just, it was, debilitating at times, just that fear. And so that's like one area that I struggled with. But the other thing that I have to say is that, like I struggled with a lot of, I struggled at the time, I was struggling with a lot of compulsions and obsessions and everything, like that I've been struggling with for years. But when I'm with my students, it's just like everything is clear. And I'm so grateful to them for that. They don't even know, they have no idea that, you know, as much as I would struggle in other parts of the day, when they were with me, when they were in front of me and we were working, like it was all clear. And it makes me emotional even like just thinking about it. I would talk with my therapist a lot about it, and how, they would ask, how is it when you're working with your students? Like how are your struggles with OCD when you're working with your students? And honestly, it was like I was a completely different person when I was with them. I had so much clarity and so much like confidence and like because they're just amazing. Kids bring out that in everyone, I feel. If you're a teacher, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But kids bring out the best in you, and my students are just absolutely amazing. And I I was so grateful that, those times when I was with them, I just felt so amazing. And even though every other part of my day, many other parts of my day were really difficult, it was like that time with them was just incredible. And so I have to say that that's like when I was with my students, and really really struggling, um I was able to function. I was able my ability to function when I was with my students and to be able to do my job, like I'm trying to describe it in the best possible way. Like they, when I was with them, I was able to do the job, if that makes sense. Um, but other parts of my day were really, really difficult. Um, so one of the main things I really struggled with, and I talked a little bit about this with you guys. I think in the last video when I was talking about like the thrift miss gifts and gifting things for Christmas, that I was afraid in the past were contaminated, and now I feel like they no longer are contaminated. I shared that I would take a lot of pictures, and that's something that I struggled with, and I'm just like so nervous even talking about it because I don't talk to anybody about this, but with like school related things. Like and it wasn't like I wasn't taking pictures of like my students or anything like that. I was taking pictures of like things in my classroom that I wanted to make sure they were okay. I needed to make sure everything was safe. So there were times when I would try to leave my classroom and it would take me like an hour at the end of the day. I was getting home later and later every night because I was double, triple, quadruple checking that everything was turned off the right way, that, there was all the posters were hanging on the wall the way that I, in my head, were going to keep things safe, if that makes sense, like I wanted to make sure that I didn't accidentally leave anything on, and that everything was like in the right place. And I would take pictures of those things, like making sure I turned off the lights, making sure that I turned off my computer. And to be quite honest, I would take like hundreds of pictures. Like I counted one day, and I think there was one day when I took 100 pictures before I left my room. And, in certain times I would take like 100 to 150 pictures within the span of like 20 minutes. And I like thankfully I had some amazing people who were there to help me during that time. Um, you know, People that I can't thank them enough for everything that they did during that time and showed me support and encouragement. People that would come and help me leave school, people who would come and encourage me, and you say, like your classroom looks great, everything looks good, those types of things. And they were definitely like amazing, amazing friends and colleagues. I'm just so grateful for them. Um, and so that was something that really helped me a lot. And so all of that to say, like, when I was with my students, I was a different person, if that makes sense. Like, but in a good way. When I was with my students, I was able to function, and I, they brought out the best in me, and they gave me all of the courage and encouragement and strength and confidence that, I was struggling, to find in other aspects of my life. So teaching was almost, when I was physically with them, was almost like just, it was like a breath of fresh air, and it was other parts of the day that were difficult, like getting to school and leaving school. And again, it's because my job and school community and my students are so important to me that my anxiety and OCD, that's what it like focuses on. It focuses on like the, what if I did something and I lost my job, if that makes sense. So long story short, I think I already said that, like I was able to teach. The entire time I was able to function in the classroom with my students, and I felt like I was, being as best of an educator as I could. But it was other parts of my day that were difficult, and again, like there are other areas that I just don't really feel like explaining fully yet about because they're more personal, um, but things in the day that like are important parts of your day that I just struggled with because of OCD, like washing my hands and things like that. Those were the areas that were really, really difficult. But and also in a way, like when things got difficult with, my OCD and everything, didn't I sort of let certain things go, if that makes sense. And what I mean is like my room wasn't as organized as you can see. I'm like going through and reorganizing everything here. My room wasn't as organized as I would keep it before. It wasn't as I didn't have as like the same organizational systems that I had before because they were too much to manage with everything else that I was struggling with. I definitely found other ways to make like my, you know, teaching process work in terms of like reviewing students' work and everything, but I just didn't have those same systems that I had always used before because it was just too difficult for me to manage those when I was really sick. So during all of this, there were a lot of things that I struggled with, and now I'm able to sort of look back on it and sort of think about what things were really helpful for me, and what things were really difficult. And the first thing I want to say is that it doesn't have anything to do specifically with what I'm talking about here, but I know that I say the word a lot. I sometimes receive comments saying that I will say that word a lot. When I'm nervous, I do say that word more frequently because it helps me think and it helps me calm down for a second. So I want you guys to know that during this video, I am saying the word a lot. It's helping me continue to communicate and not get stuck on my words as much. I have shared videos in the past where I have shown how I struggle with repetitive speech because of my OCD, and sometimes using the word helps me to avoid repeating myself. So I know that people don't say things to be mean intentionally, and I know that people say things to try to give some constructive criticism. I suppose that might be what it is. But know that I'm doing that and I'm saying because it helps me not repeat myself, which is something that I struggle with at times with my OCD. So that's the first thing, because I did just listen back to the video so far, the recording, and I did see how often I said but it's something that it helps me, with what I'm struggling with right now. As I've said before, I've been working with a therapist and a psychiatrist, and that was something that was really helpful during this time because I was able to utilize what I was working with the therapist and the psychiatrist sort of like in real time. So a lot of the things that have helped me, like for example, I have a mantra that has been hugely helpful for me, and different skills in like calming strategies and things like that, that I was able to utilize a lot when I was struggling at work. And that's something that was really helpful to be able to sort of, learn strategies and then go and be able to like practice them immediately. And there are still strategies, even though the medication has helped me tremendously, there are still strategies that I utilize every single day, when I'm at home or when I'm at work. And I think it's so amazing because I was really skeptical about those things helping me just because I was skeptical about everything. But I've definitely learned a lot of things with my therapist and psychiatrist that have really, really helped me in those situations. And that's something I'd like to share a little bit more with you guys because, like I said, I did not think a mantra would help me. And I was like, no, I will never find something that I can say that will help me get through something. But the mantras that I have, that they've completely changed everything for me in terms of my ability to be able to function and get through situations that would have been very, very difficult and triggering for me in the past. And I use them every single day. Like seriously, I'll use them multiple times a day during school just to, help me through things that are a little more difficult and maybe, just help me like refresh almost in my mind and sort of just take a step back and reflect on how I'm feeling. So that's something I definitely want to share more with you guys about at a different point. Again, like mantras are kind of personal too. It's all like all of this stuff it's very personal, but I hope that I can share some helpful tips with you guys and share with you what has been helpful for me in terms of, learning to live with severe OCD, because this has been a multi-year process. I think I started treatment in March of 2020. And so this has been several years, and I'm now feeling like really strong and really confident and so much better. I still have times when it's difficult, but it's been a combination of therapy and medication and like real life practice that has been really helpful for me. So that's been one thing that's been really helpful is working with a therapist and a psychiatrist and being able to utilize those strategies like in the moment. Another thing that has been really helpful is learning how to sort of like relax when things feel really, really overwhelming, I guess you could say. Sort of focusing on not becoming too overwhelmed in that specific situation, whether it's like an intrusive thought that you're struggling with or a compulsion that you might be struggling with. Sometimes I struggle with the fact that I'm struggling. Does that make sense? Like I get upset with myself in the fact that I'm feeling upset or feeling upset that I'm struggling with something, and just taking a step back and sort of just trying to almost take yourself out of the situation. That has been something that's really been helpful. Another thing that's been really helpful for me during this is to learn how to not to let things go, like I said earlier, but to prioritize things, I guess you could say. Like I said earlier, I was struggling with the management systems that I had in my classroom, not like classroom management, but like the paper management and organizational systems and stuff like that, and learning to sort of just let those things go. Finding ways that you can still function within your space and, you're still able to be productive, but if something has to change from one year to another to work with the person that you are in a particular year, then that's what that is. Um, don't think that just because you have to change a system that worked, or maybe one system that worked amazing for you in the past isn't working this year, that that it might, you don't think that it won't work again, or that there's anything wrong. Like it's you growing and learning, and just to be kind. And that's another thing is to be patient with yourself, and you know just honor, I guess, how you're feeling at the time, and not become overwhelmed that maybe, because I know for me, I would struggle with the fact that I wasn't feeling a certain way. And when I started therapy, I wanted to feel better immediately, and it it was not immediate at all. I'm glad I stuck with therapy and trying different medications. I'm so grateful, but it it was not an immediate process. The support I felt immediately, but the outcomes I did not feel immediately. And so just trust the process, and be patient. I know it's really hard to want to be patient, or to feel like you can be patient during this process, but um, know that things will get better. I know for me, if you had told me in March of 2020 when I started therapy that I would be talking with you guys about my obsessive compulsive disorder on YouTube, on the internet, and just making everybody fully aware of it, I wouldn't believe you, to be quite honest, because I struggled so much with being afraid of talking to anybody about what I was going through. And so, all of that to say, like, it gets better, things get better, and 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 it's worth the fight, if that makes sense. I know there have been times when my treatment has been really difficult. I shared with you guys that I've tried a few different medications, and I had two medications that did not work for me. And I haven't gone into a lot of detail about how they didn't work for me, but it was really, really difficult. And I'm so grateful that I didn't decide to stop trying medications after the second failed medication, because this third one was the right one. And I know I couldn't, at times it was so difficult to see and to understand how a medication would help me until it did. Does that make sense? So, the fact that I'm here talking with you guys, talking with the whole internet, letting everybody know about, how I struggled at work, it's amazing to me because this would have made me so nervous, and I would not have shared this with you guys. I would not have talked about how my OCD impacted my day at school, at work. Um, but I'm just so proud of myself that I'm at this point where I'm comfortable talking about it, and I have so much more clarity, to be able to share this with you guys because I want my story to help other people. I want others to not feel alone. I want others to know that, you know, things get better, and that, you can find a treatment that works for you. If it's therapy or medication or a combination of both, things will get better. So I that's why I want to share my story. And I think a lot of people struggle with things like this, and a lot of people struggle with mental health conditions and mental health concerns, and there's a stigma, that people are afraid to talk about these things. And I don't want people to be afraid to talk about it, because if if we can all talk about it and work together and encourage and support each other, I think it would be like everybody would just feel so much better knowing that they're not alone, and that knowing that they're not the only one that might be thinking something, and feeling a certain way. And so, you know, I I the fact that I'm talking with you guys about, the struggles I had leaving my classroom, and the struggles that I had being afraid that, I needed to take hundreds of pictures of my, the lights in my classroom. And like I would have never shared that before until I, am sort of on the other side of the journey, and I'm not done, if that makes sense. I'm not done with learning how to function and learning how to live with this disorder, but I'm definitely at a different place than I was several years ago, and I want to help other people feel encouraged and supported, because that was something that was so helpful to me in my process, was knowing that I had people by my side, and knowing that I had people who were, there to listen and to try to understand, and to offer help when they could. I also think there's, sometimes a feeling that you need to like stay strong, and keep like a strong face no matter what. And I feel like, teachers, we often are, we are the ones that, help, organize the classroom and plan the lessons, and, develop the behavioral management systems, and answer the emails and answer the phone calls and do the attendance, and, everything. And it's like you know, keep your, strong face on so that you can, you know, keep an organized classroom. And that definitely is important, and, a big part of the job. But also, like, don't forget that you're a human too, if that makes sense. Don't forget that you're a human that is feeling everything just as strongly as anyone else, and that, you are going to have struggles just like everyone else as well. And I guess something that I would encourage is, if you have a support system, that if there's somebody at work that, can support you, or somebody at home that you feel comfortable talking with, like, don't be afraid to talk with that person. Um, because, it's not something that you need to do on your own, if that makes sense, and don't forget yourself in the process of your day. Does that make sense? Find things that give you a little bit of a break and a little bit of a breather. I know something that's been helpful for me this year is, if I have a little extra time, like on my lunch, I'll go for a quick walk around the school. And that's been something that's been really helpful, because before, when I was struggling, I was, it was really just like try to get, everything done. And I was, very stressed, and, just really trying to, I feel like, just get everything done, and struggling with my OCD. But now I'm taking time in my day to relax. And, whether it's only like 2 or 3 minutes, it doesn't have to be a long period of time, but just a little bit of time for you to sort of, you know, move your body, walk around, maybe listen to things you don't hear in other parts of the school. I know I mainly work with 3, 4, and 5, third, fourth, and fifth. But this year I've been spending time walking down, in the like the younger primary wing and listening to what they're doing and, seeing what they're working on. And that just sort of, it's like a little bit of a breather for me, I guess. And, likewise, if you work with the early primary grades, take time and walk over to the, older kids and see what they're working on. Um, and it doesn't even have to be a walk where you go and look at what students are doing. Like, it certainly doesn't have to be that. But, you know, take time to give yourself a moment to breathe during your day. And I would also say don't be afraid to talk to a colleague, and even if you're, just need a quick breather for a second, like don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I just need to take a quick breather," and you know, I don't want to say lean on them, but don't be afraid to say like, "Can I talk to you about how I'm feeling?" I think often people will think that they're the only one feeling something, and I know that's something I really struggled with a lot with my OCD is, feeling like I'm the only one that has ever been thinking about, whatever I was struggling with at the time. And, taking a moment to, if there's somebody that you work with or a family member that you feel like you can say, "Hey, I'm feeling nervous about something. Can I talk with you about it?" Making sure that they feel comfortable, talking. Always check in first to make sure that they're okay as well. But don't be afraid to do that, because that's something I really struggled with and I had to work through a lot in therapy is, like I said earlier, was afraid to tell anybody that I had OCD, and I was afraid to admit it to anybody because I felt like I couldn't. And as soon as I learned, through work with my therapist that I could, bring other people into my journey, it was life changing for me. It really made a huge difference for me um in my journey and learning how to function with OCD. So I know this was quite the long video, 30 minutes, over 30 minutes long, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about everything. I know I've been talking about how since I rebranded the channel and now the channel's under my name and I'm having like a Teaching Tuesday video and, different topics on different days. I wanted to, not only on the Teaching Tuesday videos talk about like different strategies I'm using with my students and everything, and like how to work, different strategies to use when working with English language learners, but I also wanted to take time and sort of let you guys know how my life with OCD, which is something I've been sharing a lot about with you guys on this channel, I wanted to talk about how it connects with my life as a teacher as well. And yeah, so I'm really really nervous to be talking with you guys about this. Like I am hopeful that I'm going to actually share this video. I know I am. But it's a really like therapeutic process for me to do this right now because as I said at the beginning of my process, I would have never imagined that I would have even told you guys about my struggle with OCD, and let alone tell you more specifics about how it impacts my life as a teacher and, different ways that it impacts my daily life. And so it feels like this is kind of like therapy for me to talk with you guys about it. And so I just want to say thank you for listening, and thank you for always encouraging me. And I want you to know that if you're struggling, that I see you, I care about you, I love you. You are not alone. Things will get better. And, um, you know, don't be afraid to learn about different therapy options and different um, ways that you can get help for what you're struggling with, because there is help to help you get through what you're struggling with. And I know it might seem really difficult right now, but I am proof to you that it does get better. At times the process can be really tricky to find the right treatment, and but I've learned through my process that finding the right treatment can be life changing. All right, so I was able to do some decluttering and organizing in this space. It doesn't really seem like I got rid of a lot of stuff, but I definitely did. I was able to get some of the games in the bottom of this cabinet, but I just don't think it's going to work to get all of the games in there. I do have another cabinet just like this one on the other side of the classroom that has books in it right now, but it's not organized like at all. So hopefully I'll be able to work on that project and maybe be able to keep this as like a, like a craft supply organization space, paper, crayons, all that kind of stuff, and then maybe use the other cabinet, but we will have to see.